Lila had always been cautious when it came to dating. After a few failed relationships and countless awkward encounters, she had started to believe that real connection was rare. She spent her days working at a small local boutique, arranging clothes and helping customers, and her evenings were often quiet, spent with a book or listening to music. One evening, after a long day of work, her friend convinced her to try online dating again. Lila was hesitant, but she agreed, more out of curiosity than hope. Scrolling through profiles, she paused when she saw a man named Ethan. His profile was simple, just a few pictures of him hiking and reading, with a short description that mentioned he loved good food, movies, and simple pleasures. There was nothing flashy, no hints of wealth or extravagance, which was exactly what Lila wanted. She sent a message, and to her surprise, he replied within a few minutes. Their conversation flowed easily, full of humor and light-hearted teasing. For the first time in a while, Lila felt excited about the idea of meeting someone new. They agreed to meet at a small, cozy Italian restaurant that Lila liked. As she walked in, she spotted him immediately. Ethan was taller than she expected, with a warm smile and eyes that seemed genuinely interested in her. He greeted her politely, and they exchanged a handshake that felt comfortable and natural, not stiff or formal. The initial small talk was easy about the city, work, and favorite foods, but soon they found themselves laughing at shared experiences and little quirks about life. Lila felt a sense of ease she hadn't felt in a long time. As they ordered, Ethan asked her about her day. She shared some stories about the boutique and a few funny incidents with customers. Ethan listened attentively, nodding and asking questions that showed he cared about what she was saying. Lila noticed that he wasn't distracted by his phone or looking around the room. He was fully present, and it made her feel seen. She shared a story about a customer who had been looking for the perfect dress for a special occasion, and how it had taken hours to find it. Ethan laughed genuinely, not in a fake or forced way, and shared a story about a time he had tried cooking a complicated recipe and ended up with a kitchen disaster. Lila found herself laughing so hard that she had tears in her eyes. The conversation shifted to lighter topics like movies, books, and hobbies. Lila felt comfortable enough to reveal that she loved sketching in her free time, but rarely had the chance to do it. Ethan encouraged her to share her drawings, and when she mentioned that she kept them mostly to herself, he suggested she might consider showing them online or at a local gallery. Lila appreciated the gentle encouragement. It felt supportive without being pushy. As the evening went on, they ordered dessert, and the conversation became more personal. Lila shared a little about her family, how she helped care for her younger sibling while their parents worked long hours. Ethan shared some of his own experiences growing up. Though he kept it light and relatable, Lila noticed that he didn't brag or talk about achievements. He simply shared moments from his life just as she did. It felt balanced, and she found herself opening up more than she normally would on a first date. After dinner, Ethan suggested a walk. The night air was cool and the streets were quiet. They walked side by side, talking about small things, the sounds of the city, the streetlights reflecting on the wet pavement, the way the breeze felt against their faces. Lila realized she wasn't thinking about appearances or first impressions anymore. She was just enjoying being with someone who genuinely seemed interested in her thoughts and feelings. They came across a small park, and Ethan suggested they sit on a bench for a while. Lila agreed, and they talked about dreams and hopes. She mentioned wanting to travel more, to see places she had only read about. Ethan shared that he loved the idea of exploring new places, even if it was just small trips to nearby towns. Lila felt a sense of normalcy, a connection that was rare in her life. She laughed at the little things, like how they both had a habit of overthinking small decisions, or how she often lost track of time when reading a book. As the evening drew to a close, Ethan walked her to her car. Lila felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She thanked him for a wonderful evening, and he smiled, saying he had enjoyed it just as much. They made plans to meet again, though they didn't set a specific date. Lila drove home with a light heart, feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. She kept replaying moments from the night, the laughter, the easy conversation, and the genuine interest he had shown. It felt real, and it made her heart race in a way she hadn't expected. Over the next few days, Lila couldn't stop thinking about Ethan. She found herself checking her phone, hoping for a message and smiling whenever one arrived. Their texts were playful and thoughtful, filled with jokes, questions, and little stories from their days. Lila noticed how patient he was, never rushing the conversation and always taking time to ask about her day. It felt comforting, like having a friend and a companion all in one. When they finally met again, it was for a simple coffee at a small cafe. The setting was quiet, with soft music playing in the background, allowing them to talk without interruption. Lila noticed that Ethan seemed just as engaged as he had on their first date. He asked her about her week, listened to her stories about work, and shared moments from his own life. Lila felt seen and heard, and she began to realize that the connection they were building was special. Over time, their outings became a mix of casual and meaningful moments. They went for walks, visited small art galleries, and even tried cooking together at Lila's apartment. Ethan was considerate and attentive, helping with simple tasks and making Lila laugh with his easygoing nature. She felt comfortable sharing parts of herself that she usually kept hidden, like her insecurities and her dreams. Ethan never judged her. He simply listened and offered encouragement. Lila began to notice little things about Ethan that made her heart flutter. The way he smiled when she talked about something she loved. The small gestures like holding the door open or bringing her favorite coffee. The patience he showed when she was stressed or overwhelmed. She felt a growing sense of trust and admiration, and she couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to be with someone who genuinely cared, without expecting anything in return. One evening, as they sat on a bench watching the sunset, Lila felt a wave of contentment. She realized that she hadn't felt this comfortable with someone in a long time. Ethan's presence was calming, and she appreciated the simplicity of their connection. She didn't think about money, status, or appearances. She only thought about how good it felt to be with someone who treated her with respect and kindness. As part one of her journey with Ethan came to a close, Lila couldn't help but feel hopeful about the future. She had met someone who seemed ordinary at first glance, but had a depth that intrigued her. She didn't yet know the surprises life had in store, but she was ready to take the next steps with an open heart. The first date, the walks, the coffee, and the shared laughter had all set the stage for something extraordinary, and Lila felt a sense of anticipation for what was to come. After their first few meetings, Lila and Ethan's connection deepened in ways that felt natural and easy. They met whenever they could, not with rigid schedules, but with a sense of spontaneity. Sometimes it was for coffee in the morning, other times a walk through the quiet streets of the city in the evening. Each meeting felt like a small adventure, a chance to know each other better without pressure or expectation. Lila began to notice how thoughtful Ethan was in small ways. If she mentioned liking a particular pastry at a local bakery, he would remember it and bring it to her next time. If she had a long day at work, he would send a short message asking how she was holding up. These gestures were simple, but they meant a lot to Lila. She felt appreciated, not for what she could offer, but simply for who she was. One afternoon, they decided to visit a local art exhibition. Lila had always loved sketching, though she rarely shared her work with anyone. Seeing the paintings and sketches on the walls reminded her of the joy she found in creating. Ethan walked beside her, pointing out details and asking her opinion on each piece. Lila was surprised at how interested he seemed, not just in the art, but in how she reacted to it. When she mentioned a particular sketch that inspired her, Ethan encouraged her to consider submitting her work to a local gallery or sharing it online. Lila felt a spark of motivation she hadn't felt in years, and she realized that Ethan's encouragement was helping her believe in herself more. They left the exhibition and wandered into a small cafe nearby. The cafe had a warm, cozy atmosphere with books stacked on shelves and soft music playing. They ordered drinks and sat by a window, talking about everything and nothing. Lila shared stories about her childhood, the small adventures she had with her sibling, and the challenges they faced. Ethan listened quietly, nodding, asking thoughtful questions. He shared his own experiences too, though carefully, never overshadowing her stories. Lila felt a sense of equality and respect in their conversations, which made her feel safe and understood. As days turned into weeks, Lila noticed herself thinking about Ethan more often. She looked forward to their meetings and cherished the small, simple moments they shared. They didn't need grand gestures or expensive trips. The laughter, the conversations, and the shared quiet moments were enough. Lila realized that the way Ethan made her feel, seen, heard, and valued, was something she had rarely experienced in the past. One rainy evening, Ethan invited Lila to his apartment, not for anything fancy, but to cook dinner together. Lila hesitated at first, unsure about visiting someone she hadn't known long, but Ethan's warm smile and gentle words convinced her to go. They spent the evening chopping vegetables, stirring sauces, and laughing at small kitchen mishaps. Ethan had a light-hearted approach, turning every small mistake into a joke, which made Lila feel relaxed. She realized that he was easy to be around, someone who could make ordinary moments enjoyable. While cooking, Lila spoke about her dreams, sharing thoughts she had kept hidden for years. She talked about wanting to travel, learn new skills, and explore opportunities beyond her current routine. Ethan listened intently, encouraging her to pursue these dreams. He didn't offer empty promises or unrealistic solutions. Instead, he asked questions that made her think and reflect. Lila felt empowered by his words, realizing that having someone believe in her potential made a difference in how she viewed herself. After dinner, they sat together, sipping tea and watching the rain outside. Lila noticed how comfortable she felt, how easy it was to be herself without pretension. Ethan's presence was calming yet invigorating. He challenged her in small ways, pushing her to think, dream, and laugh. Lila felt a growing admiration for him, not just for his kindness, but for the way he approached life with sincerity and warmth. During one of their walks, Lila shared a memory from her childhood about helping her younger sibling with homework while balancing chores and part-time work. She explained how hard it had been at times, but also how it had shaped her into someone resilient and empathetic. Ethan listened closely, never interrupting, and then shared a story of his own, a moment when he had struggled to balance responsibilities and expectations. Lila appreciated that he was willing to share vulnerability, showing that he wasn't perfect, just human like her. This exchange deepened her trust and comfort in their growing relationship. They spent many weekends exploring local markets, small cafes, and hidden streets in the city. Lila enjoyed the way Ethan observed things, often pointing out little details she might have missed, the pattern of leaves on the ground, the laughter of children playing nearby, or the aroma of freshly baked bread from a small bakery. These simple observations made their outings feel special, as if every moment held meaning. Lila realized that these were the moments that mattered most, not grand gestures or expensive gifts. As time passed, their conversations began to touch on deeper topics. Lila shared her fears and insecurities, talking about moments when she felt uncertain about her future or inadequate in her abilities. Ethan listened without judgment, offering empathy and gentle guidance. He encouraged her to focus on her strengths, to embrace her passions, and to trust herself more. Lila felt a growing sense of confidence, realizing that having someone supportive and understanding could transform her perspective on life. One evening, while sitting on a park bench, they watched the sun set behind the city skyline. Lila shared a story about a time she had wanted to attend a special art class, but had lacked the resources. Ethan listened attentively, then suggested they look for similar opportunities together, not as a favor but as a shared experience. Lila felt her heart swell with gratitude, appreciating how Ethan's approach was thoughtful, genuine, and inclusive. She realized that their connection was built on mutual respect and care, something she had rarely encountered before. As the weeks continued, Lila noticed small changes in herself. She felt more confident, more willing to take risks, and more open to new experiences. Ethan's presence had a subtle yet powerful effect, encouraging her to embrace life with curiosity and courage. She found herself smiling more often, laughing freely, and appreciating the simple joys around her. Their companionship had become a source of joy and inspiration, and Lila cherished every moment they spent together. One afternoon, as they walked through a quiet street lined with autumn leaves, Lila reflected on the journey so far. She realized that she had met someone who truly valued her for who she was, someone who listened, supported, and inspired her. The connection felt authentic, grounded in shared experiences and mutual respect. Lila felt hopeful about the future, knowing that their growing bond held the potential for something meaningful and lasting. Ethan, too, felt a deepening affection for Lila. He admired her resilience, her creativity, and her ability to find joy in everyday moments. He appreciated how she approached life with honesty and sincerity, qualities that were rare and precious in his world. He found himself looking forward to their time together, eager to share experiences, laughter, and quiet moments. Their relationship had become a source of comfort and happiness, a refuge from the complexities of life. As part 2 of their story unfolded, Lila and Ethan continued to build a foundation of trust, understanding, and genuine connection. They explored new experiences, shared personal stories, and encouraged each other to pursue dreams and passions. Each moment, from casual coffee dates to evening walks, strengthened their bond and deepened their appreciation for one another. Lila began to realize that meaningful relationships weren't about wealth or status, but about mutual respect, kindness, and the ability to be oneself. By the end of this chapter, Lila felt a sense of contentment and anticipation. She knew that her journey with Ethan was just beginning, and she looked forward to the surprises and experiences that lay ahead. The foundation they had built together promised a future filled with growth, laughter, and the possibility of love, a love grounded in authenticity and shared humanity. As the weeks passed, Lila began noticing subtle things about Ethan that made her curious. At first, they were small hints, a slight hesitation when discussing his work, a quick smile when people recognized him at certain places, and occasional moments where he seemed unusually composed in situations others might find intimidating. Lila didn't press him. She was more interested in enjoying their time together than solving a puzzle. Yet a quiet part of her mind wondered about these small mysteries. One afternoon, they decided to take a trip to a nearby countryside town. It was a simple idea, just a day away from the city to enjoy the fresh air and quiet streets. Ethan had planned it well, choosing a route that revealed scenic spots and small, charming cafes along the way. Lila was impressed by his attention to detail, but assumed it was because he was thoughtful, not because of any hidden resources. They spent the day walking, laughing, and taking pictures of the landscape. Ethan's knowledge of the area was impressive, yet he shared it casually, as though he had spent years exploring without needing recognition. During lunch at a small outdoor cafe, Lila noticed a subtle change in how people interacted with Ethan. A server approached him with a respect that seemed slightly beyond ordinary politeness, and a passerby paused to nod and smile in recognition. Lila felt a twinge of curiosity but decided not to comment. She had enjoyed these outings for the simplicity and connection, and she didn't want to spoil it with assumptions or questions. Ethan, meanwhile, continued to focus entirely on her, asking about her interests and sharing amusing anecdotes. She realized that no matter what others thought of him, he gave her his full attention, and that made her feel special. They explored a small art gallery that afternoon. Lila loved looking at the sketches and paintings, noticing the details that spoke to the artist's heart. Ethan watched her closely, noticing the excitement in her eyes as she examined each piece. At one point, Lila picked up a brochure about an upcoming exhibition and mentioned how much she wanted to participate in a workshop, but hadn't found the time. Ethan encouraged her to make the effort, suggesting ways she could balance her responsibilities and still follow her passions. Lila felt a surge of motivation, grateful for his supportive words and his quiet confidence in her abilities. As the day drew to a close, they walked back through the cobbled streets, the sun casting a golden glow over the town. Lila felt a sense of calm and happiness, enjoying the simplicity of the moment. Ethan's presence was comforting yet exhilarating, as if every small detail mattered more when he was there. They stopped at a small bridge to watch the river flow beneath them, and Lila shared a memory of a childhood trip with her family. Ethan listened intently, asking gentle questions that encouraged her to elaborate. Lila realized how rare it was to meet someone who truly cared about her stories without trying to dominate the conversation. On their drive back to the city, Lila noticed Ethan handling the car with a calm confidence that made her feel safe. She couldn't pinpoint why, but there was something about the way he carried himself that suggested experience beyond the ordinary. Yet he never boasted or implied superiority. He simply navigated the world with quiet assurance. Lila appreciated this about him, feeling that it reflected a depth of character that went beyond appearances. Over the next few weeks, small hints about Ethan's life began to appear more frequently. Lila noticed that certain people recognized him instantly, greeting him with admiration or familiarity. Occasionally, she caught glimpses of documents or correspondence that seemed important or confidential, but Ethan never explained. Whenever she asked, he would laugh softly and brush it off, saying it was nothing she needed to worry about. Lila accepted this, trusting his discretion, and focusing instead on the connection they shared. They spent many evenings together, exploring the city in ways Lila had never experienced. They visited small art fairs, attended local music performances, and discovered hidden bookstores. Ethan's knowledge and curiosity about the world impressed her, but he shared it without arrogance or showiness. Lila found herself inspired by his perspectives, often seeing ordinary situations in a new light because of his insights. She appreciated how he made her feel capable and intelligent, encouraging her to think and reflect rather than simply following his lead. One evening, Lila confided in Ethan about a personal struggle she had faced in her past, an experience that had left her feeling insecure and uncertain about herself. She spoke with hesitation at first, unsure of how he would react. Ethan listened without interruption, nodding with understanding and empathy. When she finished, he shared a similar experience from his life, not to compare or diminish her feelings, but to show that vulnerability and growth were universal. Lila felt a deep sense of connection and trust, realizing that she could share her fears without judgment or ridicule. During their conversations, Ethan often asked thoughtful questions that encouraged Lila to reflect on her goals and desires. He was patient, never rushing her or pressuring her for answers. Lila noticed how attentive he was, remembering small details from previous discussions and bringing them up in meaningful ways. She felt seen and valued, appreciating how he balanced curiosity with respect for her boundaries. They began spending weekends exploring nearby towns, enjoying simple meals at local diners and walking along quiet streets. Lila noticed that Ethan seemed familiar with many places, yet he never flaunted knowledge or connections. He approached each outing with genuine interest, focusing on shared experiences rather than personal advantage. Lila admired this quality, feeling that it reflected integrity and humility. She realized that the joy of these moments came not from extravagance, but from being fully present with someone who cared. One weekend, Ethan invited Lila to help him plan a small community project he had been supporting. It was a local initiative aimed at providing art supplies to children from underprivileged neighborhoods. Lila was touched by the idea and eager to contribute. Together, they organized a small event, reaching out to local stores and families. Lila was impressed by Ethan's organizational skills and dedication, but more so by the way he involved her, valuing her input and ideas. She realized that his wealth, if he had any, was not the focus. His character and intentions were what truly mattered. As their connection grew, Lila began noticing subtle aspects of Ethan's behavior that hinted at a life she hadn't imagined. He seemed at ease in high-end restaurants and exclusive locations, yet he never drew attention to it. Staff and strangers often treated him with respect or recognition, but he remained humble and attentive to her, never allowing status to interfere with their time together. Lila felt a mix of curiosity and admiration, sensing that there was more to Ethan than he revealed. Yet she appreciated that he had not let it change the authenticity of their relationship. One evening, they attended a small music performance at a local venue. Lila noticed how quietly people acknowledged Ethan, offering greetings and small gestures of respect. She asked him about it casually, and he smiled, giving a vague answer about knowing some of the organizers. Lila accepted the explanation, focusing on the music and their shared enjoyment. She realized that while there were mysteries in Ethan's life, the moments they spent together remained genuine and unaffected by them. As they walked home that night, Lila reflected on the subtle changes in her perspective. She had begun to recognize that meaningful connections were rare and that Ethan offered something she hadn't encountered before, a combination of understanding, empathy, and authenticity. She appreciated how he encouraged her to grow, supported her passions, and listened without judgment. Their relationship had become a source of inspiration and comfort, and she cherished the trust and intimacy they shared. In the quiet moments of reflection, Lila considered the hints she had noticed, the respectful greetings, the composure in unusual situations, the occasional glimpses of responsibility or authority. While curiosity tugged at her, she felt no need to demand answers. She valued the present, the moments of connection and laughter, and the growing sense of trust between them. Lila realized that the foundation they were building was more important than any revelations about his background. The authenticity of their bond mattered more than status or wealth. As part 3 of their story unfolded, Lila continued to explore her connection with Ethan, appreciating the subtleties and nuances that made their relationship unique. They shared experiences that encouraged growth, reflection, and laughter. Small hints of mystery added intrigue, but the essence of their bond remained rooted in understanding, empathy, and mutual respect. Lila began to feel that their journey together was leading toward something extraordinary. A connection that transcended appearances and societal expectations, built on genuine human connection and trust. Lila had grown comfortable in her life with Ethan. The small outings, casual coffee dates, and long walks through the city had become the rhythm of her weeks. She never expected surprises, believing their connection was simple and grounded. But one evening, that simplicity was about to change in a way she never imagined. Ethan called her early in the evening, asking her to meet him for a quiet dinner at a place he described as special. Lila agreed, expecting a cozy little restaurant or a hidden gem in the city. She spent the afternoon feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness, wondering what made this dinner different from the many enjoyable meals they had shared. When she arrived at the location, she found herself in front of a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city skyline. The place was elegant but not overly extravagant, with twinkling lights and a calm ambiance. As she stepped inside, she noticed a line of photographers and media personnel gathered near the entrance. Confusion swept over her, and she glanced at Ethan, who was smiling gently. Before she could ask a question, he took her hand and led her past the crowd. Lila was stunned as realization dawned. The man she thought was a simple date was someone well-known, a billionaire who had been hiding his status from her. Her mind raced with a mix of shock, disbelief, and a faint sense of betrayal. She had believed she knew him completely, yet this revelation challenged everything she had assumed. Ethan noticed her reaction and stopped, turning to face her. His expression was calm and sincere. He gently explained why he had not revealed his true identity sooner. He wanted to meet her as a person, not as someone influenced by wealth or status. He admitted that it was rare for him to encounter genuine connections in his world, and he had been captivated by her authenticity from the start. Lila listened, her heart pounding, trying to process the unexpected truth. For a moment, silence hung between them. Lila struggled to find words, torn between feelings of shock and the realization that their connection had been real all along. Ethan reassured her, emphasizing that his intention had never been to deceive her but to ensure that the bond they were forming was genuine. He shared how much he admired her resilience, kindness, and the way she approached life with honesty. As they sat down for dinner, Lila's mind continued to whirl. She watched Ethan interact with the staff, the ease with which people respected and recognized him. Yet, he treated her with the same attentiveness and warmth as always, never allowing the revelation of his status to overshadow their connection. Lila realized that despite his wealth, he remained humble and grounded in their relationship, valuing her for who she was. Throughout the meal, Ethan shared stories about his experiences without dwelling on fame or fortune. He spoke about challenges he had faced in business and personal growth, focusing on lessons learned rather than accomplishments. Lila listened intently, noticing the humility and sincerity in his words. She began to see a side of him that was complex and human, far beyond the public image she had glimpsed. They walked out onto the rooftop terrace after dinner, the city lights stretching below them. Lila's emotions were a mixture of awe, confusion, and curiosity. Ethan took her hands in his, speaking gently about trust, honesty, and the importance of authentic connections. He reassured her that nothing about their relationship had been fabricated, and that he valued the moments they had shared as real and meaningful. Lila reflected on the weeks they had spent together, the casual walks, art gallery visits, shared meals, and quiet conversations. She realized that every moment had been genuine, that Ethan had listened, encouraged, and supported her without regard for wealth or status. The revelation did not diminish the connection. Instead, it added layers of understanding and appreciation for the person he truly was. Ethan then shared his vision for the future, not in terms of luxury or wealth, but in terms of experiences and possibilities. He spoke about projects he was passionate about, communities he wanted to support, and ways to make a positive impact. Lila found herself inspired by his commitment and integrity, recognizing that his influence could be used for meaningful purposes. She felt a renewed sense of admiration and connection, realizing that his character mattered far more than the public perception of his wealth. Over the next days, Lila took time to process the revelation. She reflected on her initial feelings of shock and betrayal, but also on the deeper truth that their bond had always been genuine. She recognized that Ethan's decision to conceal his status was not meant to manipulate, but to protect the authenticity of their connection. Lila felt a growing sense of respect for him, appreciating the courage it took to be vulnerable and honest in such a complex situation. Ethan continued to include Lila in his life with the same thoughtfulness and care as before. They explored new experiences together, from quiet picnics in the park to attending community events he supported. Lila noticed how he balanced his public life and personal connections, never allowing fame or wealth to interfere with their time together. She admired his ability to maintain authenticity amidst complexity, and she felt fortunate to be part of his life. One evening, as they walked along the waterfront, Lila shared her feelings about the revelation. She spoke openly about her initial shock and how it had given way to understanding and appreciation. Ethan listened, nodding, and reassured her that her feelings were valid. He emphasized that their relationship was built on trust and respect, and that he valued her honesty as much as she valued his. As the weeks went by, Lila and Ethan continued to navigate their relationship with openness and care. The revelation of his wealth no longer felt like a barrier. Instead, it became part of their shared story, a testament to the authenticity and depth of their connection. Lila appreciated the way Ethan remained grounded, never allowing status to dictate behavior, and she felt inspired by his approach to life and relationships. They spent time together exploring meaningful experiences, such as volunteering at local shelters, attending art workshops, and participating in community projects. These moments reinforced the values that had drawn them together: kindness, empathy, and genuine human connection. Lila felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment in their shared activities, recognizing that their bond extended beyond personal affection to shared experiences that made a positive impact. During quiet evenings at Ethan's apartment, they talked about their dreams and aspirations. Lila shared ideas she had kept private, and Ethan encouraged her to pursue them with confidence. He provided guidance and support without imposing his influence, allowing her to explore possibilities while respecting her autonomy. Lila felt empowered, recognizing that their relationship was not about control or dependence, but about mutual growth and encouragement. One weekend, they attended a charity event organized by Ethan's foundation. Lila observed how he interacted with others, graceful, attentive, and sincere. She realized that his public persona did not overshadow the qualities that mattered most in their private moments: empathy, humility, and genuine care. She felt proud to stand beside him, appreciating the integrity and character he displayed both publicly and personally. As Part 4 unfolded, Lila's perception of Ethan evolved. She recognized the complexity of his life, the responsibility he carried, and the humility he maintained amidst fame and wealth. The revelation of his status deepened their connection rather than weakening it, as it highlighted the authenticity of the bond they had cultivated. Lila felt a sense of gratitude and hope, understanding that their journey together was built on trust, respect, and the shared joy of discovering each other's true selves. By the end of this chapter, Lila knew that her life had been changed by the revelation, not because of wealth or status, but because she had met someone who valued her genuinely. The experiences, conversations, and moments they shared were authentic and meaningful. Lila felt a renewed sense of possibility for the future, knowing that the foundation of trust and understanding they had built would guide them through the next chapters of their story. After the revelation of Ethan's true identity, Lila's life changed in ways she hadn't anticipated. The initial shock had passed, replaced by curiosity, understanding, and a growing sense of trust. She realized that their connection had always been genuine, and this knowledge gave her a deeper appreciation for the bond they had nurtured over weeks of shared experiences. In the days following the rooftop dinner, Ethan and Lila continued to spend time together, now with the added awareness of his background. Their conversations deepened, touching on hopes, dreams, and the future. Lila noticed that Ethan remained humble and grounded, never allowing wealth or status to interfere with their time together. He encouraged her to pursue her passions, to take steps toward her dreams, and to believe in her abilities. Lila, inspired by Ethan's words, began to take small but meaningful steps toward her goals. She signed up for a local art workshop she had always wanted to attend, and she began sharing her sketches with a small online community. Each step brought her a sense of accomplishment, and she felt a renewed confidence in herself. Ethan celebrated these milestones with genuine excitement, offering support and encouragement without overwhelming her. One weekend, Ethan suggested they take a short trip to a nearby town known for its art and history. Lila was thrilled, excited for the adventure and the opportunity to learn and explore. The trip was filled with laughter, quiet moments, and shared discoveries. Lila noticed how Ethan made even ordinary experiences feel special, paying attention to details and creating memories that would last. She realized that the joy of their connection lay not in wealth or extravagance, but in the authenticity and thoughtfulness they shared. During the trip, they visited a local gallery where Lila had the opportunity to meet other artists. She felt nervous at first, unsure of how she would be perceived, but Ethan's calm presence reassured her. He encouraged her to speak about her work and to embrace the opportunity to share her creativity. Lila felt empowered, recognizing that Ethan's support was helping her grow and believe in herself in ways she hadn't before. As they returned to the city, Lila reflected on the journey they had shared. She thought about the small moments, the walks, coffee dates, art exhibitions, and quiet conversations that had built the foundation of their relationship. She realized that these moments were far more valuable than any grand gestures or displays of wealth. Ethan's authenticity, humility, and care had created a bond that felt rare and precious. In the weeks that followed, Lila and Ethan became more involved in each other's lives in meaningful ways. They volunteered at local community projects, supported initiatives for children and artists, and explored ways to give back. Lila was inspired by Ethan's dedication to making a positive impact, and she felt proud to be part of experiences that extended beyond their personal relationship. These shared moments reinforced the values that had brought them together: kindness, empathy, and genuine human connection. Lila also noticed a transformation within herself. She felt more confident, more willing to take risks, and more open to new experiences. Ethan's presence had encouraged her to embrace life with curiosity and courage. She began to see opportunities where she had previously seen obstacles, and she approached challenges with a renewed sense of determination. The growth she experienced was not only personal but also relational, as she learned to communicate more openly, trust more deeply, and appreciate the value of partnership. Their relationship continued to flourish, marked by trust, respect, and shared joy. Lila noticed how Ethan maintained balance in his life, managing responsibilities, public expectations, and personal connections with grace. She admired his ability to remain grounded despite the complexities of his world. Ethan, in turn, appreciated Lila's authenticity, resilience, and creativity. He valued her insights, her laughter, and the way she approached life with sincerity and curiosity. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset from a quiet rooftop, Lila reflected on the journey they had shared. She realized that their bond was not defined by wealth or status, but by mutual respect, understanding, and the ability to be fully present with each other. The revelation of Ethan's identity had not changed the essence of their relationship. Instead, it had highlighted the authenticity and depth of their connection. Over time, Lila and Ethan began discussing their future together. They spoke about dreams, goals, and the life they wanted to build, both individually and as a couple. Lila felt empowered to pursue her ambitions, knowing that Ethan's support was steadfast and unconditional. Ethan expressed his desire to continue growing together, valuing the journey they shared rather than focusing solely on material considerations. Their conversations were filled with hope, excitement, and a shared commitment to nurturing their bond. Lila's family also became an important part of this new chapter. Ethan showed genuine interest in her loved ones, building relationships based on respect and kindness. Lila appreciated the way he engaged with her family, creating a sense of inclusion and care that extended beyond the two of them. She realized that their connection was not limited to private moments, but had a ripple effect, positively influencing the people around them. As they navigated life together, Lila and Ethan continued to explore new experiences, pursue passions, and support each other's growth. They traveled, attended cultural events, and engaged in creative projects that brought them closer. Lila found joy in the balance between adventure and quiet moments, appreciating the depth of their connection in both ordinary and extraordinary circumstances. Through it all, Lila understood that the greatest transformation was within herself. She had grown more confident, resilient, and open-hearted. She had learned to embrace life's surprises, to trust others, and to value authentic connections. Ethan's presence had catalyzed this growth, but it was her own courage and willingness to engage fully with life that made the transformation lasting. In the final days of this chapter, Lila reflected on the journey from the first dinner to the present. She thought about the laughter, shared challenges, and moments of vulnerability that had defined their relationship. She realized that life's surprises, while sometimes overwhelming, could lead to profound growth and joy. Meeting Ethan had changed her life, not because of his wealth, but because of the depth of understanding, support, and authenticity he brought into it. As Part 5 concluded, Lila felt a sense of fulfillment and hope for the future. She knew that her relationship with Ethan was built on a foundation of trust, empathy, and shared values. Together, they had navigated unexpected revelations, embraced growth, and created meaningful experiences. Lila looked forward to the future with optimism, knowing that their bond would continue to deepen and that life's surprises could bring joy, love, and transformation when approached with an open heart. After months of building a deep connection, Lila and Ethan had reached a stage in their relationship where trust and understanding guided every step. Life had shifted subtly but profoundly for Lila. She was no longer just the cautious woman who worried about being judged or overlooked. With Ethan by her side, she felt empowered, adventurous, and confident in ways she had never imagined. One morning, Ethan suggested they take a trip to a secluded coastal town. Lila had never been, and the idea of escaping the city for a few days filled her with excitement. Ethan kept the plan simple, choosing a small inn by the shore rather than a grand hotel. The journey itself was filled with laughter, conversation, and little surprises, like a roadside cafe where they discovered homemade pastries and a tiny antique shop that fascinated Lila with its old books and trinkets. Upon arriving at the town, they explored the beach together. Lila loved feeling the sand beneath her feet and the cool waves brushing her ankles. She and Ethan collected shells, watched the tide, and shared quiet moments of reflection. Ethan encouraged her to sketch the scenery, and for the first time in a long while she felt free to create without judgment. Watching Lila's eyes light up as she sketched made Ethan smile. He loved seeing her passion flourish. During their time in the town, Lila began to notice even more of Ethan's thoughtful nature. He anticipated little comforts she might need, like a scarf when the wind picked up or a bottle of water when they hiked to a scenic overlook. These gestures were not grand but meaningful, showing how well he understood her needs and cared for her well-being. Lila realized that the foundation of their relationship was not built on wealth or status, but on attentiveness, empathy, and shared experiences. They spent one evening walking along a cliffside trail, watching the sun dip below the horizon, the colors of the sky reflected in the ocean, creating a serene and breathtaking scene. Lila shared memories of childhood vacations and her dreams of traveling more, perhaps even opening a small art studio someday. Ethan listened intently, asking questions and gently encouraging her to take steps toward her goals. Lila felt a renewed sense of possibility, recognizing that her ambitions were valid and achievable. As the trip continued, they visited a local community center where children were learning art and music. Lila was inspired by their creativity and dedication, and Ethan encouraged her to help organize a small workshop during their stay. She hesitated at first, feeling unsure about taking the lead, but Ethan's support made her feel capable. The workshop was a success filled with laughter, curiosity, and shared creativity. Lila felt proud, realizing that contributing to others' growth could bring her joy and fulfillment. Returning to the inn that evening, they sat on the balcony overlooking the ocean. Lila reflected on how much her life had changed since meeting Ethan. She thought about the simple beginnings of their relationship, the coffee dates, the walks, and the quiet conversations. She realized that every step, every moment, had led them to this point of deep understanding and partnership. During the trip, Ethan shared more about his philanthropic projects and business ventures, but always in a way that emphasized purpose rather than wealth. Lila admired his dedication to making a difference, and she found herself inspired to contribute her skills and creativity in meaningful ways. Their conversations were rich with ideas and dreams, each encouraging the other to grow and explore possibilities. One evening, as they watched the stars from a quiet spot on the beach, Ethan turned to Lila and spoke softly. He expressed how much he valued her presence in his life, how her authenticity and warmth had touched him deeply, and how he could imagine a future together, filled with shared adventures and growth. Lila felt a surge of emotion, realizing that their relationship had evolved into something profound, a partnership built on trust, love, and mutual respect. Back in the city, they continued to nurture their connection. Lila pursued her art with renewed enthusiasm, participating in local exhibitions and workshops. Ethan supported her every step, celebrating achievements, offering constructive feedback, and encouraging her to take risks. Their shared experiences deepened their bond, creating a rhythm of trust, growth, and joy. Lila also noticed how Ethan's influence extended beyond their personal lives. She felt inspired to volunteer more, engage with her community, and pursue projects that mattered to her. Ethan encouraged these efforts, never overshadowing her contributions, but celebrating her initiative. Lila felt empowered, realizing that she was capable of making a difference while maintaining a fulfilling personal life. As time passed, they began planning a small joint project, a community art initiative aimed at bringing creative opportunities to children who lacked resources. Lila was excited and a little nervous about the responsibility, but Ethan's unwavering support made her feel confident. Together, they organized workshops, gathered supplies, and created spaces where children could explore art freely. Lila felt a deep sense of fulfillment, recognizing that their partnership extended beyond personal affection to meaningful contributions in the lives of others. Through these experiences, Lila grew in confidence and self-awareness. She learned to trust her instincts, embrace challenges, and pursue her passions with dedication. Ethan remained a steady presence, offering guidance, encouragement, and companionship. Lila realized that their relationship was not about dependence but about mutual growth, shared values, and the joy of creating something meaningful together. One quiet evening, they revisited the place where their journey had first revealed Ethan's true identity. Lila reflected on the path they had traveled, from simple dates and walks to meaningful adventures and shared projects. She recognized that their connection had deepened because of honesty, vulnerability, and commitment to each other's growth. The journey had been transformative, shaping both their lives in profound ways. In the final days of Part 6, Lila and Ethan celebrated the progress they had made together. They acknowledged the challenges they had faced, the surprises that had reshaped their understanding, and the growth they had experienced individually and as a couple. Lila felt a sense of gratitude, not only for Ethan's presence but also for her own courage and willingness to embrace life's opportunities. The story concluded with Lila looking toward the future with hope and excitement. She knew that life would continue to bring challenges and surprises, but with Ethan by her side, she felt equipped to face them with confidence, love, and resilience. Their bond, rooted in authenticity, empathy, and shared purpose, promised a future rich with possibilities, growth, and enduring connection. Lila's journey had been transformed, not by wealth or status, but by the power of genuine human connection and the courage to embrace life fully.